I've experienced some wonderful manifestations of my vortex just by focusing on the emotion and how good I feel when I feel good, and it ramps. And
so you're having fun even before the manifestation.
Yes.
That matters a lot.
Yes, and just visualizing, and have been amazed at how it shows up more than I could have imagined. Yeah. But I'm stuck.
Or you could say more than I knew before.
More than I knew before.
Because you must know it now or it wouldn't be.
Yes, exactly. So I'm having some challenges with staying in that place when reality, as you spoke to earlier, paying attention to what is, and it's in a particular aspect of my life.
What happens to you when you say I'm having a hard time, some challenges? So does that mean you're having some negative emotion around it?
Yes.
And did we tell you yet what step 5 is? Step 5 is not being mad at yourself when you're back in step 1.
Okay. Okay.
It's realizing the importance of contrast. It's realizing that sometimes a little extra contrast adds a little extra clarity to something, or a little extra resolve, or a little extra determination to focus. You see what we're getting at?
Yes. Yes.
The other day we were visiting with someone who was speaking similarly, and we said, wouldn't it be interesting, because we'd been talking about this vibrational reality and how this vibrational reality is turning to the things that you want to experience fully, and that it's a process, and that once it begins, it's a sure thing. Now you can stall it out by keeping a belief active that doesn't let it move forward, but once the desire is born, if you've been listening to us for a while, you've been hearing us say, if this time-space reality has the wherewithal to give you a desire, it has the wherewithal to give you the full-blown manifestation of it. You heard us say, well, this is what we're talking about. Once the desire is realized by you, that means you were in the receptive mode enough to get the desire, and you can return often enough to the receptive mode to play it all the way out into its fullness. And so when you realize that it's underway, that it is flowing, that it is a slam dunk, that the worst thing you can do is slow it down, but the best thing that you can do is just allow it to unfold easily, then it's easier to find a reason to feel good knowing that that will be the result of it. So we interrupted you. You want to talk more specifically about something?
Yes. So the negative emotion that I experience, particularly around finances, and I have been this way longer than I've ever wanted to
Now
be.
you must have misunderstood. We didn't ask you, how have you been?
Yeah.
Where have you been? Tell us about yourself. We didn't do any of that.
Right.
Because we don't want to activate that unnecessarily.
So I am compulsively going to a place of fear. Fear that is irrational based on what I've experienced in this life.
Well, it doesn't matter how rational or irrational it is. Fear always means the same thing. You're broadcasting in opposition to the broadcast of your inner being. So fear always means that you have a different opinion about it. And so give us an example of a thought you think when that fear hits you. Be as specific and succinct as you can in that.
Okay. This is the beginning. I'm going to lose everything.
All right, so that's a strong thought. It's a strong thought that is in complete opposition with what you want, and it's in opposition to this desire that is turning to a different thing than that. You've got a desire that's turning to an entirely different thing than that, and when you say that, you really mess up that vibration, and that's what that fear is. That's like that buzzer that says, this thought does not blend with who you are. It doesn't blend with what you want. It doesn't blend with the desire that's unfolding. It doesn't blend with sources knowledge about what's happening with you. And so when you call it an unrealistic thought, we want to call it much more than unrealistic. We want to call it out of alignment. We want to call it not in keeping with who you really are. It's a much bigger out of alignment thought than we can even put words to. And so let's not put words to it. Let's put emotion to it. That's what that fear is that you feel. So what do you do when you feel fear? First of all, if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would acknowledge it as guidance, and we would feel appreciative of it. And we would say, good for me, I'm feeling fear. And next, good for me, source within me knows something very different than the subject that I just activated, to which I responded with fear. So if this fear means that my thought is not accurate, then what thought must be accurate? Oh, it's going to be all right. Things are working out for me. Esther and many like you got on a ship in Sydney a few weeks ago and had a wonderful cruise, and then came back to Sydney. And we like to tease you by saying, wouldn't it have been interesting if, when they had all gotten on board, if the captain had come across the loudspeaker? He did frequently. He really liked his own voice, and it came through the speakers a lot. And wouldn't it have been interesting if he had said, ladies and gentlemen, we are so happy to welcome you on board. If you will look at your itinerary, you will see that Sydney is the place that we get on the ship, and it's also the place that we get off the ship. And so, since we are in Sydney, get off. Your voyage is now complete, as you can see by the end of the itinerary. And of course, no one would have wanted to get off, because they didn't get on to get off. They didn't create this voyage to get it over with. And we want to suggest to you that you didn't have all of that experience and put all of those ingredients in your vortex, and law of attraction didn't whip them up into a faster moving energy, and you didn't receive it as an idea which you are in the process of translating into the full-blown manifestation. None of that happened so that you could get it done. It wasn't about getting it done. It was about the joyous experience of watching the cooperative universe respond to the vibrational integrity of your serious, deliberate thought. Don't you like mastering things? Don't you like being good? Don't you like the feeling of clarity? Don't you like knowing that Source has your back and that Source is flowing with you? So this is really what we want to bluntly say. Why would you ever? It seems ridiculous to us. Why would you ever go to all of that trouble of being born into a contrasting environment, giving birth to all kinds of rockets of desire, putting the ingredients all there, getting into the receptive mode enough that you realized a desire, and then take score right now about what is over there when you're here? Why would you take score when there's so much more delicious evolution to take place in this magnificent creation that you are upon? Why would you do that? Well, we'll tell you why, because you're stuck on manifestations. And that's what we're trying to get you to get over with in these hours that we're together. We want you to enjoy this sweet spot as the manifestations are becoming, not just take score of what the manifestations are. So that's what causes you to have fear most of the time. That's the predominant reason that you feel negative emotion, because you got this thing going on and it's alive and well, and Source is with it, and your inner being's with it, and everything's unfolding. The entire universe has got your back, and things are lining up, and law of attraction has whipped up all kinds of cooperative components, and you're over there taking score about the manifestation instead of enjoying the journey on the way. It's like being on the ship and being so mad that you're not at the final destination. You don't do that when you get in your car and go someplace. You expect there to be some life experience between the beginning of your journey and the manifestation, the fruition of it, don't you? Yes. So why take score? Why not enjoy the emotional, vibrational journey? Because that's what it's all about. There isn't anything that any of you want. Not a material object, not a pile of money, a relationship, a circumstance, an event. There is nothing that you want that is for any other reason that you believe you will feel good in the having of it. We want to convince you today that you can feel good in the not yet having of it, that you can feel good in the uncondition of it. If you need the condition before you can feel good, you can't control the conditions. So what are you going to do about all those conditions you can't control? You've got to start figuring out how to be unconditional. You've got to start figuring out how to become the vibrational being that you were born to be, because you are eternal. This isn't going to end. You're not ever going to say, okay, I'm done. I've reached my final manifestation. Oh, you tell those stories. That's what you call heaven. Oh, yeah. I got it all done and now I can rest. It is not like that. You are a creator, and you never, ever, ever will stop creating. Ever, 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 ever. And you know how we know? Because we are non-physically focused and creating with you and through you and to you. It never ends. what's the big rush? Do you ever eat an ice cream cone? Don't you want to make it last? Don't you just go as slow as you can go without it dripping down your arm? Don't you want to savor it? Do you just scarf it? Do you just... Glad I got that over with. Enough?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Turning thoughts to things is fun, and it's fun having the things too, but it's the turning the thoughts to the things that's the real deal.